谁没有一些刻骨铭心事？谁能预计后果？
我是谁？
有一些
我从哪里来？
旧恨心魔，
我到哪里去？
一点
生命到底是怎么回事？谁能告诉我？谁能告诉我？谁告诉我？告诉我。
负你负我多，谁愿意解释为了什么？一时。
The ears, nose, and throat have separate but related functions. The throat is a passageway that carries food to the esophagus and air to the lungs. At the entrance to the windpipe, the voice box contains vocal cords that open and close to produce the sound of the voice. This is covered by a stiff flap of tissue called the epiglottis, which prevents food from entering the lungs. The ears are important for both hearing and balance. The outer ear directs sound waves to the eardrum, which vibrates against tiny bones in the middle ear. This stimulates nerve cells in the inner ear to generate nerve impulses that travel to the brain, where they are perceived as sound. Components of the inner ear, called the vestibular system, gather information about the position and movement of the head to maintain balance. The nose is the main passageway for air into and out of the lungs. The nose warms, moistens, and cleans air and is also the organ of smell, which is an important component of taste. Finally, the sinuses are air-filled spaces that open into the nasal cavity, which reduce the weight of the facial bones and skull, while also maintaining shape. The heart and blood vessels make up the cardiovascular system, which delivers oxygen and nutrients to the body and removes carbon dioxide and waste products. The heart is a muscular organ with two upper chambers called atria that collect blood and two lower chambers called ventricles, which pump blood out. Heart valves regulate the flow of blood through these chambers. The right side of the heart pumps blood returning from the body into the lungs, where it picks up oxygen and delivers carbon dioxide. The left side of the heart pumps oxygen-containing blood from the lungs out to the body. The contraction of the heart muscle is controlled by an electrical current that starts in the heart's pacemaker, known as the sino-atrial node, in the right atrium, and travels along precise pathways into the left atrium and down to the ventricles at a controlled speed. Abnormal heart rhythms, or arrhythmias, occur when heartbeats are irregular, too fast, too slow, or conducted via an abnormal electrical pathway. All blood is carried within the blood vessels. The arteries are strong and flexible and carry blood away from the heart under the highest blood pressure. Capillaries are tiny, thin-walled vessels that allow substances to pass between the blood and tissues. They also act as a bridge between the smallest arteries and veins, called arterioles and venules. Veins carry blood back to the heart and have much thinner walls than arteries due to their lower pressure. The respiratory system takes in oxygen and expels carbon dioxide. Oxygen is delivered into the blood, whereas carbon dioxide is removed. Air enters the respiratory system at the nose and mouth and passes down the throat through the voice box and into the airways. The largest airway is the trachea, which branches into two smaller airways, the left and right bronchi. The bronchi lead into the lungs and branch into even smaller airways called bronchioles. At the end of each bronchiole are thousands of small air sacs called alveoli. Within the alveoli walls are networks of tiny blood vessels called capillaries. Oxygen and carbon dioxide are able to move through the extremely thin barrier between the air and the alveoli. The diaphragm is the most important muscle for breathing in. As the diaphragm contracts, it increases the size of the chest cavity and expands the lungs. The intercostal muscles between the ribs also help move the rib cage. To breathe out, the lungs and chest return to their resting shape and the intercostal muscles relax. The human body is a complex, highly organized structure made up of unique cells that work together to sustain life. Cells are made up of many smaller parts, each with its own purpose. Inside the cells is a fluid known as the cytoplasm, which contains structures that are vital for the health of the cell. The nucleus contains the cell's genetic material, or DNA, the code or book that stores biological information. Mitochondria are tiny structures that provide the cell with energy. Related cells joined together are collectively referred to as a tissue. Various types of cell work together to accomplish specific functions. Connective tissue is tough and fibrous and binds the body's structures together to provide support and elasticity. Organs are made of several types of tissue and cells. For example, the heart contains fibrous tissue that makes up the heart valves, muscle tissue that contracts to pump blood, and special cells that maintain the rate and rhythm of heartbeats. Organs are also able to work together in groups called organ systems, such as the cardiovascular system, which includes the heart and blood vessels and is responsible for circulating the blood. The blood transports oxygen and essential nutrients to the body's cells. It also carries waste, which leaves the body through the kidneys. Blood is composed of a variety of cells produced in the bone marrow. These cells include red blood cells that carry oxygen, white blood cells that fight infection, and platelets, which prevent bleeding. 55% of blood is formed of plasma, a liquid that maintains blood pressure. Red blood cells contain hemoglobin, a protein that carries oxygen molecules. Anemia occurs when the number of red blood cells or hemoglobin is low. White blood cells are important components of the immune system that fight infection. When a blood vessel is injured, blood clots can form to prevent bleeding. Platelets are involved in clot formation, as well as several other components of the blood. An inability to form a clot can result in excessive bleeding. The body also removes clots that are no longer needed. Too much clotting can block blood vessels and lead to strokes or heart attack, depending on the location. Blood cancers such as leukemia occur when healthy white blood cells are replaced by cancerous cells within the bone marrow. Together, this highlights the delicate balance observed in blood.
谁没有一些刻骨铭心事？谁能预计后果？
我是谁？
有一些
我从哪里来？
旧恨心魔，
我到哪里去？
一点
生命到底是怎么回事？谁能告诉我？谁能告诉我？谁告诉我？告诉我。
负你负我多，谁愿意解释？为了什么一时？